Good evening. Welcome, everybody. This is the October 6th, 2025 Pros Commission meeting. I would first like to introduce and welcome our newest commissioner. This is her first meeting, Glorianne Sasser. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. You want to give us 30 seconds of introducing yourself to everyone a little bit?
Right. Sure. So I'm really pleased to be a commissioner. Thank you. And my background is in finance and human resources. And then I've spent a lot of time in the open space and the parks, and I've lived in Walnut Creek for about 25 years now. So thank you.
Oh, very exciting. Thank you very much, and welcome being here. So, okay, we'll roll call, and Secretary Vickers, please call the roll.
Good evening, Commissioner Sasser,
Here.
Commissioner Oler,
Here.
Commissioner Garland,
Here.
Vice Chair Pinkstaff,
Here.
and Chair Cook.
Here.
Thank you. Let the record show that all the commissioners are here minus the youth commissioner.
Okay, public communications. This portion of the meeting is reserved for comment on items not on the agenda. Under the Brown Act, the Commission cannot act on items raised during public communications, but may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed, request clarification, or refer the item to staff. We've allotted 30 minutes for this particular public comment period. Does any member of the public wish to speak on any item not on the agenda? I do have some cards. I'll call those off here. With that, the secretary's already given me the cards, right?
Correct, yes.
All right. When I call your name, please approach the podium. Mr. Burns.
Hi, members of the commission. Thanks for having us here. Good evening. My name's Justin Burns. I live in Walnut Creek with my wife and 2 children. I'm here tonight representing Walnut Creek's beach tennis community to ask that you request staff to consider replacing the net winches at the city sand courts. I have some of the other members here joining me. Beach tennis is a globally popular sport governed by the International Tennis Federation, the same organization that governs traditional tennis, except beach tennis is played on a sand court similar to beach volleyball. The sport is gaining serious momentum and is under consideration for inclusion in the 2032 Brisbane Olympic Games. A key difference in our sport is the net height. For beach tennis, it's set around 5 feet 7 inches, about 2 feet lower than a standard women's volleyball net. For almost 3 years, a growing group of us have been playing beach tennis on the city's sand courts. We're always extremely careful with the nets and raise them back to the higher volleyball settings after we play. Our request is to replace the dated net winches with a proven slider system, which is available for less than $1,000 from volleyballusa.com. I actually have an example that I can give to the team after. The slider system is successfully used locally in Fremont Central Park. The slider system consists of tracks that attach to each pole, allowing the net to slide up or down to adjust the height for multiple sports and various users, men's, women's, and juniors' heights. The slider system can be attached to the city's existing poles once the winches and collars are removed. This change will bring many benefits to the city. First, it will encourage more players of all sports and ages, since a single court can be adapted within seconds for any use case, including the appropriate net height for children. This will mean more revenue for the city from court rentals, including from tournaments. The slider system allows for easy, intuitive height adjustment with the net remaining under full tension. This avoids type of cumbersome manipulation of the net frequency seen with the current winch system, which can lead to sagging or damage to the net if the person is inexperienced or careless. In this way, the slider system will save the city's time and money on maintenance and replacements of nets, We asked you please refer to this item to the staff. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Any comments, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, the commission's not authorized to comment on public comments, so there's probably not going to be a lot of back and forth, but I did want to share with the commission that Jim Carlson and myself have been engaged, and we're going to continue to work through some of these requests and proposals. So, and we'll bring it back to the commission, give you an update on where we're at.
Great, thank you.
Next up is Mr. Shiner.
My name's Jonathan Shiner. I live on White Cliff Way in Walnut Creek. I've lived in Walnut Creek, again, also for about 25 years. I live across the street from various trailheads, extending from there as well as Rock Spring Place and neighborhoods along the way. I'm an avid hiker, and I use the open space quite often. And I am rather appalled at the condition of the trails, including major arteries that have developed over the last, say, 3 years. Now, back in the day, I do recall that, you know, I was in this room, actually it was a different room, but, and we were complaining about that, and ranchers were there, and a rather ingenious solution was developed by Mr. Vickers, and that was to have rotational grazing. And that worked perfectly. And let me say first that, you know, I just need to say that I am a firm proponent of using cattle to control the fuel that develops in the dry season here. So this is not about like not having cows. The point is that the cows who are pooping all over the trail, they don't need the trails to access the fuel. We do, though. And I put this out in an email I sent on September 10th, so you can have the, you know, all this language in there. You know, this problem is pretty, it's disgusting, it's unhealthy, and it begs the question about whether the open space is really for recreational users or for cattle grazers. And lastly, or almost lastly, I do want to say, that even before the poop becomes such a major issue, in the spring and early summer, there are deep ruts in the trail that could break your ankle if you try to use it. The last thing I would like to say then is...
You do have, we have 2 minutes dedicated to this period, and you've exceeded that already. So thank you very much for your comments. Next up, we have Mr. Langner.
Haven't been up here for about 10 years, so it's nice to be back. My name is Jeff Langner. I'm a Firewise community leader for Summit Road in Lafayette. I'm not a Walnut Creek citizen. I'm a wildfire survivor. We saved the dogs, lost the house. I'm joined this evening by Lafayette Emergency Preparedness Commissioner Stephanie Bontemps, my colleague. So our Summit Road Firewise community borders Acalanes Ridge and the open space in Walnut Creek. Reducing wildfire risk is our top priority. I represent 38 homes, lived there for 45 years. Our goal is what we say is a fire resilient future, meaning not have to constantly worry about losing our homes to fire, which I've experienced directly. So earlier this year, we entered into an agreement with Walnut Creek to utilize goats for grazing on Acalanes Ridge. And the goal was to reduce the grass fuel load beyond the basic Contra Costa Fire Protection District minimum weed abatement requirement. The results were amazing. My neighbors were ecstatic, and we are a lot safer now as a result. So I just wanted to publicly thank Assistant Public Works Director Mike Vickers and Open Space Head Ranger Corey Frazier for coming up with and facilitating a very creative solution to a problem that affects all of us. So thank you, Mike. Thanks to Corey. Just wanted to say that. That's it.
Great, thank you. Next, we have Barbara Guinness.
Hello, everybody. My name is Barbara Guinness. I've been a resident of Walnut Creek since 1996. Today, I wanted to talk about 3 items. Particularly, I'll start off first with the ride safely signs that are being posted outside the open spaces. In June 2025, the Pros Commission talked about a proposal for allowing e-bikes into the open spaces. Then these, I think you've seen them before, if you're familiar with the open space, these ride safely signs have started appearing at the open space entrances. If you look at the websites here, it points to, it used to point to a police website, now points to a city website, but the information is incorrect. It says it has class 1, 2, and 3 bikes as being allowed in various situations in the open spaces. And the current municipal codes do not allow that. Second thing I wanted to talk to you about was the status of the social trails to official trails plan. This was talked about in December 2024 and then again in April 2025. City staff said they formally completed trail evaluation checklists and they have other information, but they're only in the draft format, so they won't share that with the public. So I think it's very interesting to withhold information from the public regarding a public project in the public open spaces, and especially since the public purchased these open space lands. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk to you about was motorized vehicles in the open spaces. Just recently, there were 2 motorcyclists that were there, and they were riding around a parking lot in Walnut Creek, they said. And then they said a police officer told them, don't ride in the parking lot, but ride up in the open space, or pointed to the open space. Who knows if it's true? It's he said, she said, whatever. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that to your attention. That continues to happen. Thank you for all you do to protect the open spaces.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Are there any other public comments? Okay. With that, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent calendar. We have 4 items on the consent calendar. Does any of the commissioners have questions on the consent calendar items?
I do. I would
All right.
like to, I have a couple questions on the tennis annual report.
Hi, Jim Carlson, Recreation Program Manager. I can help you with that.
Yes. So I really, appreciated your update. Thought it was really, really well done. I did notice, though, that many of the youth programs seem to have lost attendees. Do you kind of have a sense of why that might be happening? Are there too many other things going on, or I don't know? I just was curious because it seemed like a big drop.
Yeah, it's a really good question. Because the tennis contractor who actually helps us with the information for the report, they're the ones that operate the tennis center, and that's Lifetime Tennis. So I would need to go back to them to talk to them specifically about maybe some of the inner details of why that enrollment might have dropped. But I'm sure they would be able to get me that answer, and I could get back to you
That'd be
with
great.
that.
And do you know whether there's any plans to sort of try to rejuvenate that, or?
Well, I know there's always plans to be, I would say, always to increase their business and to look at their court space and how they maximize the use of it. And I would almost imagine they're going to say, due to we expanded over here, we reduced over there. I think the court use is probably very similar. It's probably the user groups is what's changed a little bit. But I don't have the specific answers until I go back and talk to
Well,
them.
one more question, if you're going to go talk to them anyway.
Sure.
So they also made a mention of the fact that court utilization had actually improved, which it does. It looks much better than over the last several years, particularly better than last year. But it's 63%. So I guess I don't really know the tennis industry very well to know, is 63% good? Does that
that's-
mean?
Well, I don't know if that's good. I know that if you look at the hours of utilization, it starts early in the day and it goes into the evening. And like most of our programs, there's what we call peak hours. And during those peak hours, you could go around the city and almost all the facilities would be full during those peak hours. And those are typically in the afternoon from 3 to 6. And then after 6 p.m., I'm sure there's a lot of adults out there, and in the early morning. But those hours somewhere between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. are the hours it's kind of a little harder for us to fill on weekdays. I know that. But as far as 63%, that's a golden question. I don't know if that's a good number or not. But that's a very good question for me to ask them as well.
Okay. That was it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll move acceptance of the consent calendar.
I have a question about the aquatics program report. Thanks for the report. I just want a little more information on the scholarship program. This is the first time I heard about it, and the goals for 2026.
Okay, so Karen Houston Martin, Recreation Program Manager. I oversee aquatics and social services. Our scholarship program is both recreation and arts-based. I don't necessarily handle the actual scholarship program. That's through community arts, the community arts manager, but we have so much money a year to contribute to all of our recreation programs. So our goal is to increase that, especially in aquatics. It seems like a lot of people are interested in using that for day camps, things like that, on the rec side, and we're really trying to push more and more people use that for swim lessons and for fitness swimming. So our goals are, we have about $14,000 that we bring in on the rec side a year through our Christmas tree lot that we rent, the parking lot for the Christmas tree lot. And so we're trying our hardest to use all that money up every year for all of our recreation programs.
And how is that awarded? Like, you get-
There's an application that participants fill out online. Miley, who is the community arts manager, she goes through those and makes sure that the criteria is met, and then there's a percentage that's awarded to each family.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on the consent calendar? Do we have any any members of the public who wish to provide public comment on any of the consent calendar items? Okay, with that, we'll move to approve the consent calendar items, including the minutes from the last meeting, correct? Can we have approval?
I move we approve the consent items.
And a second?
I'll second.
With that, they are approved.
I'll just call roll real quick. Commissioner Oler,
Yes.
Chair Pinkstaff,
Here.
Commissioner Sasser,
Yes.
Commissioner Garland,
Yes.
Commissioner Conson,
Yes.
and Chair Cook.
Yes.
Thank you. And please let it be noted that Commissioner Conson is here in attendance. Thank you.
With that, next on the agenda is an item for the commission consideration, the staff report.
Please. So, good evening, Commissioners. Have two items on the consent calendar for tonight. The first one being the drone ordinance, and the second one is the playground renovation. We'll get to here just in a few minutes. Before I jump into the updated drone ordinance, it's important to share that I'm not sure. I think Commissioner Oler might have been here in 17, but I could be wrong. Okay, so this is the first time that this body has heard the drone ordinance, and so it's, what's that? Oh, so not necessarily an update to you folks, but back in 2017, the summer of 17, we presented an unmanned aircraft ordinance, referred to as the drone ordinance, and received feedback from the commission. And the drone ordinance that I'm going to share with you today is almost identical to the ordinance that was shared back in 17, with the exception of the feedback that we received from this body at that time, which had to do with criteria in which the director was going to use to either approve or deny a request to use a drone in these spaces. So I'll jump into the drone ordinance. Here, I'm going to read the first section. I've got big print so I can see it. And then so I'll read the first section. The second two sections are more legalese, so I'll just briefly touch on those. Those are more for council direction or for council to weigh in, and then we'll move into questions and potentially questions from the general public. So the unmanned aircraft. No person shall operate an unmanned aircraft while located with any park or open space, nor shall any person utilize any park or open space as a landing or takeoff location for an unmanned aircraft without a valid permit issued by the director. The director may designate certain areas within our parks and open space where the operation of an unmanned aircraft or the landing or launching of an unmanned aircraft may be allowed. For the purpose of this section, unmanned aircraft shall mean an aircraft operated without the possibility of direct human intervention from within or on the aircraft, and includes unmanned aircraft systems, an unmanned aircraft aerial vehicle, or remote control aircraft. The director shall have discretion to issue for permits for unmanned aircraft for the following: photography or filming, historical, environmental, or scientific surveys, vegetation management or fire risk assessment, or governmental purposes. This section shall not apply to unmanned aircraft operated by local, state, or federal law enforcement or emergency response personnel while acting under their official capacity. So section 2, this is really just describes that councils, if this gets to council and approves, they're not going to be you're not going to contradict state and federal law, so I'm not going to go through this too much. And then this is really about the publication. Once this goes to council, if it does, how many days prior does it need to be notified, and those types of things. So before I get into questions and comments and the council action, I did have a little bit of information I want to share with you. So back in June, or a previous meeting this year, I brought to this body the e-bike ordinance. And as I mentioned at that meeting, which is very similar to this ordinance here, we oftentimes look to our big brother called East Bay Regional Parks. As most of these, since they're in the park and open space recreational industry solely, they've vetted the vast majority of these policies through their supervisors and through their communities. And so we look to see what's worked well with them and what hasn't worked well, and try and learn from that process. And this policy here is almost identical to the drone policy within East Bay Regional Parks, with one exception. And one critical exception is East Bay Regional Parks has a zero tolerance for drones in the open space, with exception, for emergency purposes, those types of things. So as we're suggesting here, based on some of the criteria that we heard from the commission back in 2017, we do have a need and a want and a desire in our open space and parks for drones. And so we wanted to be very specific on what guidelines the director would have, so that he had these guardrails to work within, so that one person didn't say, you authorized this individual to go out and take environmental photography, and this person you didn't. And so we wanted to protect the director, but also be very clear with the community on why they were approved or denied a permit to fly a drone in the open space. We do have several, or we've probably filmed several movies out at Borges Ranch, and that's why we have in there the photography and filming, because there is a need out there. We have staff that is out there assessing certain areas in terms of fire abatement, maintenance, erosion. Sometimes in the wintertime, we can't get out there to see what's going on because it's too muddy. We can fly a drone out there. And then obviously, and it's clearly stated in C, we do work with PD. We've had PD out searching for people that have been lost in the open space. We've also had PD out looking for individuals that are not operating within the rules of the open space. And so we have a number of reasons why. The other one I want to point out, and this was a question that came from someone in the audience earlier today. There was a comment about why is it that you can control the launching and landing? And it's pretty simple, to be honest with you. The city doesn't own the airspace. The airspace is controlled by the FAA. And so the city can dictate within city property what is being done on city property. So for example, if I'm out at Heather Farm Park and I have a permit, I can launch from the park and I can land in the park. But if somebody in one of the neighboring homes launches a drone from their backyard and lands the drone in their backyard and flies all over the park area, the city has no jurisdiction over the airspace. And so therefore that person could potentially do that, assuming they're not breaking any FAA rules that the city would not govern, to be honest with you anyway. So we do have a number of challenges in the open space. People are using drones for mostly good from what we see, but we've heard rumors that people are out chasing wildlife with drones, basically harassing wildlife. And drones can have an impact if you or I are out there walking and there's a drone buzzing around. You don't know nowadays what's going on, whether you're being filmed or what the case is. And so we've had some feedback, not nearly as much as we received back in 15 and 16, hence why we brought the drone policy in 17, but the issues still do exist. So with that being said, the action for tonight was to hear and provide feedback on the proposed drone ordinance, and I will open it up for questions.
I have some questions. First of all, why, since 2017, nothing's happened? The council decided not to act in 2017. It wasn't presented to them, or?
Yeah, so it never made it to council. When we received the feedback from the commission at that time, we had other issues, other more driving issues come up at that period of time, which then led us into COVID, and this has really sat flat. It sat more in my area of responsibility, certainly not with city council. And so it's just coming back now because it's raised that level on the priority list. Yeah.
Okay.
Not a good reason, but that's the facts.
Also, I'm just curious, is the director referred to Parks and Rec or Public Works or who?
Yeah, that's a good comment, because the municipal code also calls out the Arts and Recreation Director and sometimes the Public Works Director. So that's good feedback. We need to be specific, or at least list both of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking drone in Heather Farm may be under a different jurisdiction than a drone flying out in, Lime Ridge.
Yeah,
Right.
no, great feedback. Thank you.
And then I'm curious about the permit system. So things like, I don't know, more logistical things. Will there be a fee? Will a commercial venture, like a film for a company making money off of it, an advertisement or something, will they be treated differently or charged more than, the guy making taking pictures for educational purposes or anything? Have you thought about that kind of a structure, or is it just fill out a form and we say yes or no?
So there's a fee structure in our master fee schedule. So for example, if there's a filming company that wants to go do a shoot out at Borges Ranch, there's a specific fee schedule based on the hours. If there is a special event Karen's not here, but Karen handles special events. There's a fee schedule for all those. So if somebody was out there for commercial purposes, there would be a fee associated with that.
Okay.
If they're out there for the like the Open Space Foundation, for example, if we were out there doing plant studies, and we had a licensed drone operator out there helping us, it would be an internal benefit, so there would not be a fee charged for that purpose.
Okay.
Yes.
And is that just a policy of your department? Is that written up somewhere, or?
It's in the fee, it's in the master fee schedule.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right.
But Commissioner Garland, what's not specific in the master fee schedule is it doesn't use the term unmanned aircraft or drone. And so when we bring that around in a year from now, a year and a half from now, that's good feedback. We'll work to work that in so it's so that people understand. Because it's, you put a camera on your shoulder, you can put a camera above you, you're still, for commercial purposes, you still need to pay that fee. So thank you.
Okay. And then I'm wondering whether there's a penalty for breaking the rules. Do you shoot it down? Do you just ask whoever the operator is to, is it more we're at the educational phase, assuming this is implemented?
Yeah.
At the educational phase where we would ask them to stop and tell them why it's prohibited, et cetera.
Another good question. The municipal code, and I'm sure there's language in the code for a penalty for violating the municipal code. I can't quote that right now, but I'm certain that it's in the municipal code in general. But I'll be sure and clarify that as we move forward. So great question. Thank you.
Thank you. That was it.
Thank you, Mike. I wanted to make sure I understood one of the last things you said about the code. If you could go back to that for a moment. So, if I understand correctly, the code really applies to a person or a drone that is physically in a park or open space.
Correct.
And so there's a loophole here in terms of Walnut Creek's code that if an individual in their private residence launches a drone that goes out over the open space and doesn't land there, we don't have any enforcement capability Walnut Creek don't have any enforcement capability in terms of our municipal code. Is that correct?
That's correct. We can only dictate where it's launched and landed.
Yeah. So it is a fairly large loophole. It appears to be a huge loophole once people look at that very carefully. But it's controlling what we can control, because we can't control the airspace. But there may be rules from the FAA that govern it that could be enforced by other than Walnut Creek.
That's
Is that
correct.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
Just wanted to
and
make
that's
sure.
typically height. Yeah. The larger drones, they can only, I think it's 400 feet or less, or 400 feet or more. And don't quote me on that, but it's something around that height that the FAA gets more involved in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. How does somebody know that how would somebody know that a permit is required? Is there going to be an advertisement, a public notice, or is that?
Yeah, we'll push anytime we update the municipal code, we push it out through social media. We'll also advertise it in our parks and open space, whether it's through one of our sandwich boards or through one of our kiosks. We'll do our best to get the word out. And that's oftentimes why we start with the educational side of things. If we see somebody out there, we just let them know what the rules are, and if they become a repeat offender, then we address it. If we need to get PD involved or something along those lines, we do.
Does the John Muir Hospital helipad have any restrictions that they place, being given its proximity to Shell Ridge open space? Are there any restrictions in the soft? Because I know there's, we spoke earlier, my daughter for a bit was playing around with the drone, and there was some limitations as to this that was built into the software as to blocking access. Like the drone wouldn't go near an so many mile within a mile of an airport or something like that. Are you aware of any limitations with the helipad there?
I'm not. No,
Okay,
would make sense, right? That
Airspace?
airspace above John Muir's we use pretty frequently. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Does the FAA provide any, like height limitations on how high a drone can go? Is that?
I vaguely remember 400 feet, but that seems awfully high now that I think about it. If you just took John Muir as an example, but John Muir's probably, 4 stories, 5 stories, 40, 50 feet, not 400 feet. So I don't actually know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Mike on this topic? Okay, I think we're ready to move on to the next.
Is there any
Item.
public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Public comment on this topic? Oh, Barbara, Ms. Guinness, you'd like to?
I forgot my notes on this, but I was just gonna comment that I'm in the open space a lot. And I think in the last few years, I've probably seen drones up there around 6 times. One time, Mike mentioned this, but it was he didn't mention search and rescue, but it was a search and rescue and they were doing training. So that would be considered legitimate. Another one was the guy had a control around his neck and he was mountain biking and it was really not very high at all. It was just buzzed right above my head. So anyway, I knew that was not correct. And I saw a man with a drone one time too by one of the kiosks, and he was taking some pictures or something. But, probably more of the ones I've seen probably, are not legitimate, and I don't know where they were launched. Thank you, Mike, for mentioning the airspace, because I didn't know about that. I thought, well, if it's above the open spaces, you should be able to control it, but yes, it makes sense about the airspace. So I just wanted to comment. I've seen quite a few in the past few years. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
So just before are we ready to move on potentially?
Or any other public comments?
So just before we move on, based on some of the comments that were made here tonight from Commissioner Garland, where I do need to go back and maybe touch this up just a little bit, are taking those comments in consideration, can I get a thumbs up from the commission on whether you're comfortable moving this forward to City Council? Or would you like me to come back, make those amendments to this ordinance and come back for a second reading? How would you like me to proceed?
Actually, did have one more comment on the permit. Is it for a period of time, or is it like you get a 1-year permit, or is it a 1-day permit, or how's the timing work on that?
Yeah, it's another good question. It's not clear in here, but it would be based on a day.
Oh, so you'd need a permit every day you wanted to do it?
Correct. If you wanted to get like a 7-day permit for a film, for example, we would take that in consideration based on what the need or what the use is,
Okay.
and also what tied into our fee master schedule.
Okay.
So I can be more clear. We can clear that language up as well in
Yeah.
terms of the duration of the permit.
Okay. So, Mike, you're looking for a thumbs up that we can continue, or you can continue without having to, continue based on the comments you've received today, without having to amend the existing document. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm comfortable amending the document based on the feedback I received and bring it back to this body so that you can get a second reading and make sure that you're comfortable before accepting this and then giving me a recommendation to move to council. Or I can take your comments as they are and add them to the amended city ordinance and then take that straight to council in the future. So I can come back, or I can move forward to city council. It's up to this body.
Commissioners?
I was going to say, perhaps, can you, I'm not sure your actual process on this, but could you just make your edits and send it to us and say, here are edits in, related to the comments? And then, before you actually, hit the send button to the council or whatever, I don't know, is that legit, or would a
Yeah,
second reading be better?
I'm not sure I can do that because it would
Okay.
have to, the public would have to have an
See those
opportunity
changes
to
as
see
well.
what I'm sending
Yeah.
you.
I think it was mostly clarification. I am actually okay if we don't see it again. I didn't raise anything, I don't think that would, is a different approach or policy. It's really more clarification.
Yep.
So,
I think the way we have typically handled it in terms of things like budgets and fee schedules and everything else where we have an input, but it's going to go to the city council, we're comfortable with you taking our comments and making a final version that you take to city council without recycling it to us. I'd suggest we go with that, try to approve that route.
And you're looking more for a thumbs up rather than an official
Yeah,
approval?
just to hear from each of the commissioners that they're acceptable of that recommendation.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
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 And yes, I think so.
Commissioner Conson? Yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
And next item on the agenda, Mike, I think is also yours.
Yeah, just, pardon me? Yes, please. Okay, so Mike Vickers, for the record, City of Walnut Creek. I brought this item in the spring. I think it was at the April meeting, our park playground renovation update. We've done a fair amount of public outreach, and so this was an opportunity to bring it back and let you guys, let this body know where we're at in the process, and hopefully get a recommendation to move this forward. So the agenda for tonight is we'll talk a little bit about the background, the public outreach results, and then we'll get into the next steps here just in a minute. So as I mentioned, in '23, this body recommended to the City Council that $500,000 be appropriated to improve the playground or completely renovate the playground at Civic Park and Walden Park. In 2024, I came back to this body and talked about our approach and how we would get that information and what would be the next steps in the draft design. Earlier this spring, as I just mentioned, I brought a number of designs to this body and then shared with you that we were going to take this out on kind of a roadshow, in which we did through our public outreach process. So just backing up for a minute, and just so everybody's clear, in terms of public outreach, we did put it on the city's website. We put up banners at Civic Park, Walden Park, and Heather Farm Park to try and draw interest. Had a QR code on each of those, which gave you an opportunity to go to the city's website and identify which amenities and which options you would like. We did get over 600 participants of the survey, which is a really successful public outreach campaign. And we also were, some of you may know that the Walnut Creek Downtown hosts a Wednesday, I think it starts, it's June, July, August, September, there's 4 of them. And we attended 2 of them, which is on Locust Street, one Wednesday a month. It's a public outreach process where people have tents out there and sharing information, what's taking place in the city, sometimes selling crafts and things along those lines. So the design options, so here's the feedback that we received, and I'll get to this slide in just a minute. But what we did is the design options that I brought to you in the spring, we put on posters, took them out to the public. They were also on the city website, and we asked, which option of the 2 to 5 at Civic, and so on through the process. And so based on the participants that voted, option A at Civic Park, the 2 to 5, and for the audience who may not know, 2 to 5 is years of age. Playgrounds have to be broken up in 2 to 5, 5 to 12 by state law. And so at Civic Park, they selected option A. For 2 to 5, 5 to 12 was option C. And then Walden Park was the 5 to 12. What's not up here, and I'll show you the slide in a minute, we did not share with the public the amenities for the 2 to 5 at Walden because the sand area is so small, it can only house 2 or 3 items in there. And so we just made an assumption based on the regular use that's out there that they would be comfortable with it. So these were the playgrounds. This is the 2 to 5 at Civic. This is the original design that I shared with you in the spring. This is the 5 to 12. And this was the dollar amount for the combination of the 2 of them, which includes you see the resilient surface, that blue trail. That's the resurfacing of that resilient surface, the painting of the swings, and the amenities that you see. So keep that number in mind, $450 basically. So at Walden, this was the sand area that we're going to make a staff decision, with the support of the commission. And one thing that's not on here, one of the amenities that we are bringing is a jug filler, which is those small, basically if you think of an igloo jug that you would stick under a fountain where the kids can hit a button and fill up their water bucket or whatever. We're going to add one of those over there because the kids seem to love the water experience so much. So we are adding that to the 2 to 5, assuming you guys recommend we move forward. And then this was the one that was selected for Walden Park, the 5 to 12. And keep in mind, what's interesting about Walden Park, if you haven't spent a lot of time over there, it is almost 100% 2 to 5-year-olds. You don't get very many kids, school-age kids, at that park using that equipment. You might get a few more school-age kids using the disc golf course in the back, but they're really not geared towards this playground because it's so small. Typically, they're at one of the other parks. And so this here was $245. So we had $455 and $245. We were in the $700 range, right? We got appropriated for $500,000 from the city council. And so I'll share some more options here with you in a minute. But to break these out, just so you know moving forward, the 2 to 5 upgrades are about $20,000 of that $250. So keep that in mind as we talk about options moving forward. So this is a breakout of the feedback we received. Some of you remember from the meeting in the spring, if you go back to the options that I shared earlier, they may have a playground panel, which could be tic-tac-toe, or they could have a teeter-totter. And we came up with a whole list of items that are popular in playgrounds around us that we got from our consultant. And we listed those and gave the community members an opportunity to select which ones they were in favor of in the parks, as opposed to what was currently out there. And so we took everything that exceeded more than 250 votes, and that was these 6 amenities. And then we took actually there was, we selected these 3 based on the feedback, and there's a challenge, right? So obviously the climbing wall is the one on the top left. The blue one in the middle also spins. And then the one in the bottom right corner obviously is a spinner. It's something we probably all used or many years ago that they banned for a long time, and they've figured out how to bring it back. The fun stuff they're finally bringing back. Some of the climbers, like the climber on the bottom left corner or the swing in the top right corner, because the playground at Civic Park is so tight, they have a buffer zone that has to go around each structure. And for example, if you're up on a swing, there's a buffer zone based on your height. So it might be 6 feet. You got a complete buffer zone around 6 feet. You get up where you're at Heather Farm, and you're up on that second tier. Obviously, your buffer zone is bigger. And so that is why these 3 were selected, was because of the buffer zone. So each of these amenities, the total for these three amenities is about $30,000 to $32,000. So if you look at each one of these amenities, about $10,000 installed. That's kind of a good reference as we continue to move forward, and we're going to get to a financial conversation here in a few minutes. And I'll be happy to circle back when we're getting into questions here. So what do those amenities look like? This is where they're currently designed at Heather Farm. So pretty self-explanatory. They're in these locations based on the buffer zones. Okay, so this is where the project costs have increased, right? So as I mentioned, we had over 600 people participate. 207 of those people provided comments. 95%, so 195 comments had the word shade in them, which isn't, it's not a surprise, right? The temperatures of the summers are getting hotter. We all want our kids in shade. We want to be in shade. And so we went back to the designer and said, as I shared earlier, went to the designer and said, hey, put these amenities in the playground where they would best fit. They did that. We got the shade comments. We went back to the designer and said, okay, how are you going to implement shade? And what is going to be the financial impact? And so these are the shade structures over the playgrounds. So in total, and I think I get to the number right here. Yep. So this number, if you remember, was $245. So with about $30,000 in amenities, and then I did the math earlier, and it's probably another $55,000 or something like that for the shade. And so you've got a better idea now what Civic Park would look like based on the comments that we received and the three options of design that the community picked. So important to note, right? $500,000 was appropriated. This is $540,000 project. If you were to throw the 2 to 5 in there over at Walden, you're talking $560. There's a bit of a contingency that would need to be added. There's some permitting. In regards to permitting, there is our building inspectors need to inspect this, so there's a little bit of money in there. And so that being said, I jumped ahead of myself, sorry, a little bit there. So there's a number of options, right? And I jumped to number 3 there. But option number 1 is to accept the original designs, which was the 445 for Civic and the 245 or whatever the number was for Walden, and suggest to staff, hey, this is the direction we want to go in. Please move forward and go seek additional funding from council and see where we end up with that. Option number 2 is accept the original design and defer one of the parks. And so if we have $500,000 and Civic is $455, in theory, you could give a recommendation that says, hey, staff, we want to move forward with the original design. We don't want you to ask for any additional funding. We think the comments were great, but we don't necessarily think we have the funding. Move forward with Civic Park at the 455 range, or defer Civic Park and go to Walden Park and build that out for the 245. Option number 3 is what I shared. I jumped ahead a little bit. We can kind of do a little bit of mix and matching. Accept the amended design, recommended staff to seek the additional funding for Civic and or Walden. We'll get into questions. I was going to ask if that made sense, but I'll ask that when it get into questions. So your action for tonight is to provide feedback on the data and the comments received by the community during the public outreach process and the amended designs. And to be more specific, I'm really looking for some pretty detailed direction from the commission, so that I know where to go in terms of next steps. And if it has to do with funding, it'd be great to get that recommendation from the pros commission, because I'll have to take that to council. So with that being said, Chair Cook, I'll open it up for questions.
Questions from the commissioners?
I have a question, Mike. So if we were to go with option 3, how much additional that are we asking if we want to take the public's recommendation? I really think we should, because we, 600 participants, we can't ignore their input, and I think the shades is a really good recommendation. So that will be like 540 for Civic plus 245 for Walden, is that right?
Correct, if you want to do all of Walden.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm in favor of option 3.
For the, both parks, complete renovation of both, at both parks, okay.
From a procedural situation, I think we ask questions now, get public comment, and then we'll get our own comment. So I'm not trying to take it away from you, but I do have a question. So do we have usage data on Walden and Civic Park?
We do not. I can tell you from 15 years of experience that Heather Farm is our #1, most used playground that we have, and then Civic is second.
Sure.
And Civic is heavily impacted. Walden Park, not so much.
Right.
We do have the youth, the 2 to 5 year olds there, the younger kids, every day. Same groups of dozens and dozens show up, but the older kids are not participating that often.
And did the comments indicate who used which, who uses which, or were they just generic?
Generic.
Okay. The age of Walden's playground equipment versus the age of Civic,
Yeah, they were both put in '97, I believe.
but there were some additional things done in Civic since then.
There was. So back in 2014, we used some park and lieu money. We also got some grant money to make the necessary ADA improvements at that time, and also some renovations to some of the slides that weren't in great condition. Some of the play panels, you've probably seen the bubbles, the glass bubbles that the kids look through. Some of them have fogged up and those types of things, and we made improvements back in 2015.
Okay.
But that was the last time we made improvements to either park.
Okay, and do we see any opportunity to utilize some of the grants that we've had in the past on certain types of equipment that can go, whether it's shade or otherwise? Is there any opportunity there?
We can seek that. That we do as part of this package here through Game Time. We did receive a grant, which reduced the cost down to what this is, including the grant funding that we received, which I think was in somewhere around the $80,000 range. But we could potentially seek additional grants. That is going to slow things down a little bit. We could find out whether or not we could use some Recycle Smart money and pose that question to council if that's the direction we want to go.
Thank you.
Mike, can I ask another question, follow-up question for Walden Park? So if the usage for 5 to 12 is relatively low compared to the other Civic Park and the 2 to 5 at Walden Park, what does deferment look like if we were to defer that piece of the Walden Park in terms of timeline and securing future funding?
Yeah, great question. So if we were to defer Walden, we would put it on our CIP, our 10-year CIP, and we would continually have that conversation every 2-year cycle with the Pros Commission as we come in the spring of every other year to talk about what our 2-year capital budget is going to look like. All of those projects that are on our CIP are listed, and an opportunity for the Pros Commission to weigh in on what their priorities are. So potentially the 5 to 12 at Walden could come back at the next cycle. And if there's an influx in developer fees, which is what pays into the Park and Lieu Fund, maybe there's an opportunity at that point. Yeah.
Thank you.
And actually, that brings me to a point I forgot to mention. There's currently somewhere between $600,000 and $700,000 in reserves in the Park and Loo Fund. That is unappropriated at this time.
That was actually going to be my question, was what does that look like? But I just want to clarify, so number 3, accept amended designs. The amended part are the 3 additional standalone merry-go-round-like things, right?
Yep.
And the shade.
Correct.
Okay, so, so number 3 really is accept those amended designs, but only, and then it says the Civic and or Walden. So there's still an option to say, yeah, let's do all of what's been recommended at Civic Park for now, and we'll work on the other Walden Park later in the CIP.
And table Walden Park for
Yes.
a future, discussion.
Right. And that's
true. Yes.
essentially number 3,
Yes,
right?
that's
Okay.
correct.
But the funding it would all still be dependent on funding.
Yes.
Okay, and then about the funding, so the company that you have in a contract with right now for design, are they also acquiring the equipment?
Yes.
Okay, you don't have to go out for bid for any of this.
No.
Okay, so this price is real.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe a side question, but how is Measure O eligible for providing some of the benefit here without dipping into reserves for the Park and Loo?
That could be that would be a question for City Council. Yeah. And it could be part of the staff report, assuming we get the recommendation. It could be seek funding from other sources such as Recycle Smart, Park and Loo, Measure O, those types of things could be part of the staff report, yes.
And the shade is specifically for Civic, not Heather
Or Walden, I think you mean.
or Walden.
Yeah, that's correct. We only added the shade at this point. We could go back and add shade at Walden.
But there wasn't
That wasn't in the proposal.
Nobody in the surveys was, or that wasn't part of the survey, is shade?
No, it was part of the survey.
But Civic was the focus, is what you're saying?
I have to think, yeah, just for a second. I don't recall exactly. If the vast majority of the comments were specific shade at Civic, I don't think they were, though. I think they were specific to the playgrounds need to have shade, and we just did not bring back that option to have shade at Walden. Yeah.
Are there any, I don't know how to phrase this right, but if the use isn't there at Walden, could we just do something smaller? I know it would be more design money probably, because there is currently a playground for that age group there, correct?
Yeah, and that's.
And is it safe? It meets safety and ADA requirements as it stands?
So the 5 to 12 meets all the local and state laws.
Okay.
All of our playgrounds do, to be quite honest with you. It's the 2 to 5, the amenities that are in the sand, that are about $20,000 to replace those amenities, which are the ones that are most frequently used because the kids like the sand and they're smaller. But those amenities get worn out quicker because of the sand, the impact that the sand has, both on the plastic and some of the wood framing. And so those amenities are the 2 to 5, the $20,000 amenities are looking pretty tired.
So those, but that's another option then, is to go ahead and do the 2 to 5
Yes.
and defer
The 5 to 12. Yes.
Just feedback based on my friend group, but the younger kids, Walden, but then if the older kids are more interested in going to Heather. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I've seen as well.
Yeah, and if they're not with their parents, just through the trail system, you know,
the trail's right there.
It's
Right
a
there.
quarter mile to
Yeah.
one, yeah.
That's what I've seen as well. Okay. Other questions for Mike? Okay. Okay, well, any questions from the public regarding the proposed options on our playgrounds? Which we have, by the way, gone over as Mike initially pointed out, in a lot of detail, the specifics on all the different options and whatnot. So this was kind of like the final report as to moving forward, which is what you're looking for, Mike?
Yes.
And you're looking for consensus here, or?
Yes, please.
Okay. Who wants to go first on providing their input on 1, 2, or 3? Art, you look eager.
I think we need to get on with it, first of all, and that drives my desire to accept original designs. But I want to land at 1.5 instead of 1 or 2. I want to do something for Walden in the 2 to 5 area, at least a what's the terminology you used on the it's like a la carte menu where you pick the one or
amenities.
two. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something and still hit our budget target of 500 as close as we can, at or below, so we can get on with it. So we can always add things later through the processes that we have in terms of the 2-year cycles and everything else. And sometimes we defer items from the current schedule, and maybe we have a little money we can spend on additional items here. So I'd like to get on with it, accept original designs for Civic, which means I think we have to hold off on the shade, right? And add a feature or two for the 2 to 5s in Walden.
Sorry, we're difficult, Mike.
No, it's a good comment, and I don't mean to interrupt because I know you guys are gonna share your comments. But in the other, because you're absolutely right, Commissioner Oler, we can go back in and add a spinny wheel in the future, those types of things. But I also want to verify that we can go back and add the shade, because there might be an option based on the structural posts, that the post can be amended to add that shade in the future. So I'll double check on that as well. Yeah.
Always a good idea. And I'm not trying to say we don't need shade. I'm just trying to say we need to get moving, and if we can add shade down in the future, that's great. I don't think any of our playgrounds are currently shaded, are they?
There are very small shade roofs at parts of Heather Farm. But
built into the structures, not
Yeah.
not bigger
Correct.
shade items, but
That's
like
correct.
The image.
Yeah,
But
we don't
yeah,
have
as
any.
part of a house or a part of the structure. Yeah. Okay.
Other thoughts on this topic? Was that a vote for a specific item there that
Yeah,
Art made, or-
I understood from Commissioner Oler, and please clarify if I'm incorrect, that we go with the original design at Civic Park, which was in the 455 range. We do not include any of the additional amenities or shade until possibly at a later date, and we move forward with the improvements to the 2 to 5 at Walden. Is that accurate? Yeah. So if my numbers are accurate, it would be 455 plus 20,000 for Walden. We'd be in the 475 range.
Right. You're correct.
I want to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So since we have 500, should we also, so I agree that we should, right, time is money and costs are going to go up, and we've been given 500,000, that's the budget. And so we'll do our best within that. So there's still 25,000 left, so we could potentially add 1 or 2 of the amenities at Civic.
You could, or you could potentially add shade to one or the other amenities, or one of the other structures in, yeah, it's a great point. So the three amenities, sorry, I'm jumping around here, but the three amenities were about a total of 30,000. And the two shade structures, or sorry, the shade structures at each of the playgrounds was somewhere around 55. And so assuming the smaller one was 25, the bigger one was 30, that's also an option as well.
Well, I would like that. I would like the option to add shade within the budget, because then we're being responsive to the feedback that we received.
Okay. With the finance background, she wants to get it right to the total, right to the dollar amount. I like it.
So I have my current thinking. So for option 3, if we go with the shade recommended by the public from the outreach effort, so that will be 540K. Is that right? And if we
So it's 540 plus and that includes the other three amenities,
okay.
the spinners and the climbing wall, which are about 30,000.
Okay.
Yes.
So we have everything for 540K.
Correct.
And then if we do Walden Park 2 to 5, that's 20. So 20K, right? About
Correct.
20K.
An additional 60,000. Yes.
So, okay. So we need to ask for, if we were go to the council for additional funding, it will be 60K additional funding.
Correct. Approximately. Yes.
Approximately. Do we have that funding if we ask for more?
Yeah. There is funding in the park and lieu.
Okay.
And council may, as was pointed out by Chair Cook, there might be other options.
Okay.
But there is funding in park and lieu. It doesn't mean that they're going to appropriate it, but
Yeah.
the money is there, yes.
How much time are we adding to the process by waiting for council to make a decision, if we were to ask for more funding?
Probably a couple months. Yeah, and potentially less than that. Yeah.
And just for everybody's education, how was the original $500,000 budget determined?
It was likely a staff recommendation to the pros commission. I mean, it came up in the spring of 23 when we were getting ready for the next 2-year cycle, so I don't remember specifically, but typically those numbers come from staff because we have the experience, we've done the research, so I think it was a staff number. Yep.
Was it based on the balance in the park and lieu fund at the time, or is it specifically based on what they thought it was going to cost, what projected costs to do all of this?
Yeah, it was probably based on my projection. I don't remember us making that decision based on the available funding in the park and lieu. I think it was an estimated. It was an estimate that likely I gave, to be honest with you. It didn't come from engineering. It came from me. Yeah.
I'd like us to try one time, make some effort to get the extra 60,000 to be able to do the shade and the amenities, but I also support not waiting very long, in other words, not going on some huge, grant cycle or anything like that. It's just, look, can we get this? Is there a way? Did some other project underspend? I mean, is there a fairly simple way to transfer the money that we need to do it and then get it done? But if not, then I would support us, continuing to actually build, get it built.
Yeah.
And, I think it'll be a really nice, whether it has shade or not, really. Most parks don't. So, yes, it's nice if we can do it, but I don't want us to just assume we can't get it very easily. I'd like you guys, your staff, to try, see what they can come up with in a reasonable amount of time, a couple of months, like you said, that type of thing.
So, yeah, and I certainly think that's doable. It'd be great to be in construction, late winter, early spring, so that when summer hits, right, or getting close to summer, that these structures are in place and the community can enjoy. We've been talking about it since 23. Spring will be 26. Be nice to get it done. Yeah.
Well, are there any other big projects out there that the Park and Lou funding may need to use in terms of accessing the reserves we've currently got? Anything out there that by us seeking this funding, we're derailing something else?
No, not that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, we are out to bid for phase 2 to build the new community center and pool. We haven't got those bids back yet. So, I'm not city council, I don't get to appropriate, but sometimes that funding can be used to offset some other additional costs that weren't anticipated.
But those other costs could also be Measure O related funding as well.
They could be, yes.
Okay.
Measure O's been pretty well tapped, but we're not talking huge dollars here.
Right,
so.
right. Art, Commissioner Oler, does this new information change any, since you started this conversation, I'll just go back to you.
Not really. My reason for pressing is, I think I have been consistently asking for support and dollars to do something for Civic Park and also the creek for a long time, because of the growth of Walnut Creek has all been down here. The growth of Walnut Creek doesn't occur outside the downtown area. And there are a lot more people that want to use that park and do use the park, but it's really shown its age. And I'd like to get it done, and we don't have to ask permission because we already have the 500,000. We can go forward with it. I want to go forward with it. I know things may happen within 2 months and things may not happen within 2 months. And the answer could be no. So I'd like to say, let's go with it.
That Walden does have, I know it's county property, but there was a lot of units being built right across the street, across the street and 100, feet down to the north of Walden Park there. And how many, do you happen to know off the top of your head, how many units are going to the former Palmer School location?
I do not, but I drive by it regularly. It's got to be 100 plus. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a fiscally responsible person and also a financial person, but I'll go for number 3 and say, because I think Walden is going to be pretty key and get a whole lot more attention when if those units are, when are they scheduled to be completed, or it looks like
People are living in, some of those units are being lived in. Yes.
Yeah, there's got to be young people with kids in those units. We don't have a way of taking any surveys or getting a handle on like who's moving in there and how many kids there and what the impact is to schools. And I know that's way off target here from where our point are.
No, I mean, I could reach out, go by the front desk there and see if they have an average on how many families are moving in.
I think that would be good as far as making a case to council as to why we need the additional funding specifically for Walden, given the pressure that we're going to be receiving from that large development that the county put on us for the city of Walnut Creek, and maybe get some fun, they'll look favorably on that. I'm sorry that it may delay that topic, but those are my 2 cents.
Okay. So we're
divided.
Commissioner Constant, do you have a recommendation? 1, 2, or 3?
I personally am leaning more towards 2, because the way I see it, Civic Park is our second most popular park, while maybe focusing more on Walden will will allow more people to get interested. And if the question, if we focus defer one of the parks, will all the 500,000 go to just the park, or just the 245,000 to Walden?
Yeah, so it's a good question. Commissioner Sasser had made a comment about using the original design, which was in line with Commissioner Oler for Civic Park. But with the $45,000 or $50,000 remaining, adding maybe one or more of the amenities that the community reached out about, getting it somewhere into the 475 range, and then spending, the remainder, if I've got my numbers correct, and it's 25,000 to put shade over the 2 to 5 at Civic, that's kind of touching, that's using the whole $500,000 up, and it's touching various parts. So, there's another option, and I'm sure we could potentially make this work. If you had the original design at Civic, which is the 455, you didn't add the other 3 amenities, which were 30,000, but you added the 55,000 in shade, so you're getting the shade. So now you're at 510. I'm sure we could, figure out how to get that $10,000, and then potentially add those other amenities, those spinners and the rock climbing wall in the future. That wouldn't necessarily leave any money for an upgrade for the 2 to 5 at Civic, at Walden. But maybe there's an opportunity to move forward with Civic. And I'm not trying to convince you, I'm just sharing information. Maybe there's an opportunity to move forward with Civic now based on what I shared, and then seek additional funding for the $20,000 or $30,000 improvements at Walden as well. So maybe that's an opportunity too. So at least we are getting one of the projects under contract, and we are moving forward.
So we're talking about maybe breaking this up a little bit, moving forward with Civic, and then seeking additional funding on the other one. But we can break that up like that.
Yes.
All right, well, that works.
I certainly support that because it's working Civic first and maximizing what we can do for them immediately, and then continue to work to try to get more funds for other things for Civic and for Walden.
Vice Chair Pinkstaff, are you in favor of that?
So will that be option 3?
That is option 3.1.
3.1, okay.
That is on the,
Yeah.
in the moment option.
I think the shade is really important. I just remember my children, at that Civic Park in the summer. I would incorporate that. And, yeah, I would go for that proposal.
Commissioner Garland?
Yeah, I would be okay with pursuing Civic first, using our full budget, and if you can conjure up a few extra thousand, do as much of that extra at Civic as possible, and then defer Walden. Although it concerns me a little bit that you said the 2 to 5 is showing its age at Walden, and if that's a lot of new families coming in, that could be who's going to be using it. And I'm curious whether the county had to give Walnut Creek any money because it's all, Walnut Creek roads, parks, schools, et cetera, that are going to be affected by the housing right there.
So I don't know the answer to that question. I know in the past the county has been, has given, dating back to 2012, 2013, when we were building the All Abilities Playground, the county contributed $500,000 of their park and lieu money towards that playground. And so that's a potential funding source that we could reach out to, along with some Recycle Smart money or some other funding opportunities that may exist.
I mean, it does sort of make sense what Commissioner Aller was saying, that if let's just get one done fully, and then in the meantime, instead of delaying everything while we look for more money, start that process, and then it's likely to take more than a couple of months. So that does make sense to keep that viable as a plan, but then really, get some staff working on trying to get money from whatever sources available. I mean, I support that.
And to your comment earlier, just so we're on the same page, the 2 to 5 at Walden is showing its age, but it's not in disrepair. It's going to survive for a few more years until we can get to it.
Commissioner Sasser?
Right, I agree to move forward with Civic.
And Commissioner Conson?
Yeah, I also agree.
And as do I. So there's consensus. There you go, Mike. There's your orders.
Thank you.
Thank you. Fantastic job, as always. And with that, I think we're closing out the meeting. Okay, great. This concludes the October 6th, 2025 Pros Commission meeting. We are adjourned.
So sorry,
Yes.
so we're closing out considerations. I do have
Oh,
a couple
sorry.
staff reports.
Okay.
That I
staff
want to share.
reports.
Do you want to,
Moving.
unless
staff
there were
reports,
some is there commissioner updates or? Oh, you can go first, Karen.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
My staff report or announcement, Karen Houston Martin, Program Manager. I just want to invite our community out on Friday, October 24th to Civic Park for our 6th annual Trunk or Treat put on by Arts and Recreation. From 3 to 4, we will be hosting a low sensory hour. And then from 4 to 6, we will have music, movement, activities, giveaways, and of course, lots of trunk or treating. So I invite all of our community to come out and enjoy this free and very popular event. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a quick video here, a time-lapse video of Phase 1 at Heather Farm, and then we're going to roll into the time-lapse video for the synthetic turf fields. If you look closely at that floating island that's kind of going back and forth, just to the other side of that floating island, you'll start seeing a car show up. There's an old car in the bottom of the pond.
Did we know the car was there?
We did not, no. No, we did not. When the water's down low enough, we can see the windshield, the motor, seats.
But this was not a city vehicle, is that
This
correct?
is, to the best of our knowledge, it's not, yes. It's kind of starting to show up a little bit there, right along the lake edge there, close to the far side there. You can see like looks like the back of two seats.
Did they suck the fish out, or how'd they get the fish out of there?
So we had biologists on site that were there to move the fish from one lake to the other and make sure that the environment was protected, yeah. This is ball field 2.
Is a permit for this drone, I assume?
There was a permit for this drone. No, actually, no, it wasn't. There's no permits yet. So that's called a Brock pad. So in years past, you would see the infill material used to be rubber, like shredded tires, basically. Now they use this. This is newer technology. They have this absorbent pad called a Brock pad that they put underneath the turf. And our infill material is sand, and I think it's olive pit.
Mike, how do they join those?
They glue the seams.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, they used to stitch them and gotten away from stitching, and now they glue the seams. This is going to show the most of ball field 2 getting completed. And if you get a chance to go by ball field 1, probably 70% of the turf is on ball field 1 now. Laying the turf out in the Brock pad and that black liner you see is a lot of work gluing the seams down, but there's 2 weeks of infill material that you go out with a spreader and you just keep throwing it around. You got to brush it all in. It takes a few weeks before the fields are complete. So you see the posts on either side of the light poles. Those posts are going to have nets on them so that the balls can't leave the playing field. So that was it. I just had one other update. There were some comments earlier about our e-bike policy that I brought to the commission earlier this year. The e-bike policy is, based on the feedback that we received, is being revisited by the city manager's office. The city manager's office is looking into developing a citywide e-bike ordinance to absorb all of the parts of Walnut Creek and not just specifically call out the parks and open space. And so city staff, I believe the chief in the city manager's office, is going to be providing a presentation on October 21st during a study session at the city council meeting, which is at 6 o'clock. You're welcome to view it online. You're welcome to come down here and participate. But there will be a study session with city council on the 21st of October, specifically geared to e-bikes. And it's more of an update on which direction the staff is going and wanting to get some feedback from council to ensure we're headed down the right road. So, and that's it for me.
Okay. And we're ready for adjournment. That's correct? All right. This concludes the October 6, 2025 Pros Commission meeting. We're adjourned to December 1st, 2025 scheduled meeting. Thank you very much for attending, everybody. Great to see you.